Hey guys, this is part of the Crushing Your Health Goals video series. In the first video, I talked about the 6 things that you're probably lacking, one or more of those things that have stopped you from meeting your goals, whether it's a health goal or it's any other kind of goal, it doesn't matter. There are 6 things that I find that people are primarily missing when they are trying to achieve something. And so the first thing I talked about was motivation and discipline. We all know people, even ourselves included, that maybe we set out with great intentions to meet some goal, to lose weight, to get healthy. It might be a business goal. It might be some other kind of goal. It doesn't matter what it is. You started out with these great intentions, and then as time went on, you found that you could not continue to motivate yourself, or maybe you lack the discipline to do so. So that's what this is about. And I want to talk about what happens here. What primarily happens every time when you have the best intentions at heart is you, in that moment of decision where it's going to require you to do something that you really don't feel like doing, you say you want something, but in that moment, you actually want something else. And that's where you lose it, actually. So what do you want instead? Well, in that moment, you want something that feels better to you. For example, you want to lose weight, and then in the moment of decision where you either have to maybe go to the gym or you have to eat in a certain way, when it comes right down to it, you lose that motivation because why? You want something else more in that moment. And that more is whatever's going to make you feel better right now. Because as human beings, it's part of our makeup to get as comfortable as possible, as quickly as possible. So probably in that moment, you're feeling really uncomfortable in one way or another. You're feeling uncomfortable that you have to get up and go to the gym. You have to do an exercise. You have to maybe eat something that isn't very convenient. It would be more convenient for you to run and get some fast food. It might be more convenient for you to eat something that's readily available. Or it's just like you want to feel comforted in some way, so you go for the comfort food, some kind of junk food, some kind of food that's going to lead you away from your goals. So that means in that moment, you want something else more. How do you overcome that? I know, like, you're not motivated at that point. That's easy to say. It's like you've got to be more motivated. You got to be more disciplined. That's the key right there. I'm going to talk about that in a second as to how you overcome that. The other piece of it is having a true desire. While you might desire to reach your goal of being healthier, of losing weight, of whatever it may be, you might really want that, or think you want it, I should say, but actually you don't really want it because you're not taking the steps to get it. So in truth, you actually would prefer it. So that comes down to true desire versus your preference. And if I asked every person that I came in contact with and said, who wants to be healthy? Who wants to improve their health in some way? Everyone's going to raise their hand. No one wants to be unhealthy. No one wants to be overweight. So that desire people think is within themselves, but the truth is they would prefer it. Everybody would prefer it. But what differentiates those who truly get their outcome and those who don't, one part of it, there's a lot of pieces, is those that really truly want it with a deep desire will find a way to make that happen, provided the other things are in place that I'm going to talk about in other videos. And then there are those that are like, yeah, I really want it, but they don't follow through on the actions. And that I will talk about in a moment as well, when I give you the tools as to how to overcome this. And then the third thing is people think they need to be motivated. You don't need motivation to reach your goals. What you need is discipline. And so most people will get their focus on the motivation because they started out very motivated. If you have a desire and you've decided, hey, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this goal and I'm going to achieve it, that is called motivation. It starts at the beginning usually. And those that can keep carrying that out and stay motivated, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. It makes everything so much easier. But motivation is like the gas in the car. It's like the steam that's powering the engine. That motivation gives it energy, gives it a push to move forward. But it's not necessary when it comes to meeting your goals to have that at 100% of the time. Because the truth is, you're not going to be motivated at 100% of the time. There are many things that we do that we're not motivated to do, but we do it anyway. And so you want to start focusing on discipline. That's where you want your focus to be. So when it comes to the moment and you're like, yeah, I just wasn't motivated. I just wasn't motivated to do that. When you hear that going on, or afterwards when you assess things, it's like, no, you don't need to wait for motivation. What you need to do is focus on discipline. So discipline is a skill. It's a skill that gets developed. Nobody is born with discipline. Now, there are people that maybe are more geared towards living a disciplined life. Their brain might work in a way that tends to lend to being more disciplined than others. But discipline is something that can be developed, and it gets developed by doing hard things. Doing things you don't want to do anyway. And there's lots of pieces of that, like delayed gratification and stuff like that. People that don't have their brain is wired in a way that they need an immediate response or immediate results, aren't as disciplined as people who can delay that gratification. So there's lots of pieces of this, but generally speaking, if you will put your focus on discipline and start trying to develop that skill in things that maybe don't matter to you as much or aren't as hard for you, then you can build some confidence and skill in the discipline place. But the key is to focus on discipline, not motivation. So I want to give you the tools now really to start figuring out how you can overcome this motivation discipline problem. The first thing is aligning your goals and the action steps towards those goals with what you prioritize in life and highly value. That's a common problem that people have. Let's say they want to be healthy or they want to lose weight, but every time they try to carry that out, things get in the way. Life gets in the way. Life gets in the way for all of us. But when it's our higher priority, when it's one of our top priorities, then it stays at the top priority. But if it's not one of the highest top 3 priorities in your life, what you value in life, then it's going to drop down under those things that you do value higher. So most of us have 1 to 3 things that we have as our highest values. The person that addresses this the easiest, that I would highly recommend that you go on his website, is Dr. John DeMartini. He has a free highest values quiz that you can determine what your highest values are and why you want to line it up with your highest values. He explains this very well, is that then when you have motivation, I talked about motivation being the steam that powers the engine. When it aligns with your highest values, you just have this constant internal steam going on. This is like when you think about the things that really you care about in life. No one needs to motivate you to do those things. Let me give you an example. Here's a little story. I'm part of a personal development book club. Personal development happens to be one of my highest values. Personal development, teaching personal development, and then my family. Those are my 3 highest values in life. So being better today than I was yesterday in any format, to me, is one of my highest values. So at this personal development book club, I have to drive a half an hour to get there, drive a half an hour back, block a time in the middle of my workday to get there. I always make it there. But what I noticed is when I got there, almost every time, the book, which is a personal development book that the month has been based on, I have always read the book. It started out in this club that we would read one book per month, but as time went on, we found that people were taking a long time to read the book. So we broke it down to, like, now it's one book every 3 months. You have to read a third of the book in the first month, and then so on. For me, personal development is my highest value. I never have to take a long time to read the book. In fact, by the end of 3 months, I've forgotten what book it was practically, because I've read so many books on the same type of stuff since then. So I have to review the book to participate in the discussion. Now, that's because personal development is my highest value. No one has to motivate me to read that book every night. In fact, I'll plow right through it because I love it so much. It's right in my wheelhouse. It's what I do for work. It's what I love to do myself. Other people, that's not their highest value, but maybe their highest value is networking, or maybe it is socializing and connecting with other people. Maybe it's something else. That's what gets them to the book club. They get there, even though it might be hard for them to get there, because that's their highest value, networking, for example. They'll get there, but they haven't necessarily read the book. For me, networking isn't my highest value, but I'll still make it there because I love to help other people be better versions of themselves today than they were yesterday in some format. So you see how when I don't necessarily want to go there, drive a half an hour, block my schedule, and do that. It's not that easy for me, but I will do it because I've aligned it with my highest value. So that's how we start doing things that we don't necessarily want to do. If you're a parent, you know what this looks like. If your family and your children are one of your highest values, then you're going to do things that you don't necessarily want to do because it does line up with that value. So that's how you overcome a lack of motivation, so to speak, or stay disciplined, is you want to look at what you value highest in your life and then align your goals with that highest value. I'll give you an example again. Obviously, health is important to me, as it is everybody. It's my line of work. It's everything I do. But for example, I'm not a huge fan of going to the gym. I like going because it aligns with my values. But it's if something else comes in the way with me going to the gym, because it's going to the gym is not my highest value, even health, which I value highly, will come behind something else if it comes along. So I'll have to line it up. My highest value, personal development. Being better today than I was yesterday. That comes for me mentally, emotionally, and physically. So that when I line that highest value, when I line my goal and my action step up with my highest value, which is being better today than I was yesterday, now it aligns. Now it's that much easier for me to get to the gym on the days I don't feel like going to the gym. Or maybe it's a busy day, it's a stressful day, I've got other stuff that are taking place. I will still get myself to the gym on that day that's designated to go because it aligns with my highest value. So I look at that and I say, I need to move in that direction because it is motivating to me. But that just adds steam to it, right? But let's say I just didn't have any motivation whatsoever. Then I will have to be disciplined in that, which means doing it anyway. And that's going to bring me to my last point, is that we've kind of got two voices in our head. And I've always talked about this when I work with people on their health goals or any other goals. I talk about this battlefield of the mind. I've talked about this for years because I notice in other people and myself. If I get into a battle, what I call the battlefield of the mind, it's a negotiation with myself that happens internally. It might look like something like this. Oh yeah, I can start eating better tomorrow. Or you know what, like I can go to the gym later. It's this negotiation that happens. And the person that I've heard recently talk about this in a way that I love is Jocko. Jocko is a retired Navy SEAL. You can check out his podcast as well. I will put these links, by the way, Dr. John DeMartini and Jocko in the description. But Jocko talks about the general and the soldier. And I love this analogy because it fits right along with what I've been talking about for years, that battlefield of the mind, where when you go into that spot, if you're in that battlefield, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose that battle. So I don't even go there with that to the battlefield of the mind. And this is how. He talks about the general and the soldier. The general's job is to create the objectives, to win the war, to win the battle, and he gives the orders, right? And then the soldier, their only job is to execute and carry out these orders that have been given to them. But they know that the general has their best intentions at heart. They know that he's thought out this plan. They trust that he's doing the right thing. And they just simply go carry out orders. So their job is not to negotiate with the general. It's not to come up with other orders. It's not to question things. They just carry it out. This is what happens in our mind. So when you make your action steps and the things that I will talk about in other videos, I'm giving the concept, the principle right now. You will understand that there's a general in your mind and there's a soldier in your mind. Now the general has to have had a plan, a strategy, all that stuff we'll talk about in future videos. Once that plan is set in place, the soldier, which is the other part of your brain, your mind talking to you, his only job is to carry out the orders. So you have to recognize these two voices in your head, and the moment the soldier starts to question the general's orders, that's when you know, stop right there. I'm not going into the battlefield of the mind. This is a non-negotiable. This has already been set in place. I know what I need to do. I just need to carry it out. And you don't wait to be motivated. You don't try to figure anything out. You know, my job is to be disciplined and carry out the order anyway. It's going to take some energy probably at that point. If you're in a point where you haven't developed a lot of discipline skill, or this is something new, it's like a new habit you're trying to change, it's going to take more in the beginning. It's going to take more to get there. But every time you carry it out, every time you carry that order out by taking the action step that's going to lead you in the direction you want to go, you are building that discipline muscle. So you have got to build this muscle. It's like any other muscle that you build. You've got to start slow, start small, and start building that. So I highly recommend when you start taking these actions, which we'll talk about again in other videos, you make them small enough that you can not bite off more than you can chew at this point. So make it small so that you can move forward and carry out the action in a disciplined manner. So just to recap, you want to take a look at what your 3 highest values are. You want to align your goals with that value so you don't need extra steam any more than is necessary. You want to pay attention to that battlefield of the mind, and when you start to negotiate with yourself, you carry out the orders as a soldier. You don't question them, you just do it at that moment. You don't look for motivation, you just focus on discipline, and you start to think about what you really want. Maybe what you think you want isn't what you really want. Dr. DeMartini talks about this too. If you're saying, I should do this, I need to do that, I ought to do this, that's not your highest value. That's somebody else's highest value. Whether it's your doctor, your family, your friends, it may even be that other part of yourself telling you, oh, you should do this. You need to get healthy. You need to lose weight, or any other thing that you're trying to achieve. If you're saying those things, it's not lined up with your highest values. So now you got to go look at what your highest values are, and you got to match that up. Just like me, when I'm saying I should go to the gym, I realize that's not my highest value. Okay, now what do I need to do? I need to line it up with what I highly value. So now it's not I should go to the gym, I ought to go to the gym. It's I'm going to the gym because I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. That's how that looks, guys. So anyway, those are the things to focus on, not preferences, true desires. Look at what you really want, line it up with that, and start taking your focus off motivation and put it on discipline so you can build that skill. So hope this helps.